Have you ever found yourself stuck, spinning your wheels day after day, feeling like nothing you try makes any real difference? You chase new habits, devour self-help books, wake up earlier, meditate longer, yet somehow, life stays stubbornly the same. You begin to wonder, is it me? Am I fundamentally broken? Today on One Step Daily, we're diving into a powerful story of someone who hit rock bottom, financially drained, isolated from friends, heartbroken, and utterly hopeless. For 2 exhausting years, they threw themselves into every imaginable form of self-improvement, desperately seeking change, only to find themselves trapped in the same cycles of disappointment and frustration. Then something extraordinary happened. They discovered the one thing they'd been avoiding all along, a deeply hidden fear they hated to confront, and chose to face it head-on. What unfolded next was nothing short of transformational. If you're tired of superficial fixes and yearn for true, lasting change, today's episode will inspire you to courageously face your deepest fears. Because sometimes, the most terrifying step you'll ever take is exactly the one that sets you free. Stay with us. Your breakthrough might be closer than you think. Imagine this. The calendar flips to 2023, but instead of feeling hope and excitement, our storyteller felt utterly defeated. Life had unraveled dramatically, leaving him completely drained, financially broke, emotionally isolated, and reeling from a painful breakup. Everything he'd once held secure seemed to collapse around him, one harsh domino after another, leaving behind a deep emptiness that no motivational quote or inspirational video could fill. In those first desperate months, his days blurred into a monotonous cycle of anxiety and exhaustion. Nights were worse, filled with endless self-doubt and relentless questioning. How did I end up here? How did things fall apart so badly? Sleep became a stranger, replaced by late-night searches online, how to reinvent myself, ways to fix your life, and habits of successful people. He was grasping at straws, looking for anything that might spark a turnaround. Determined to rebuild from the rubble, he jumped headfirst into self-improvement, journaling at sunrise, cold showers to shock his mind awake, countless books and podcasts on mindset and discipline. Every trendy method became his lifeline. He filled notebooks with carefully planned goals and checklists, attended workshops promising quick transformations, and even tried affirmations in the mirror, repeating hopeful phrases he struggled to believe. Yet, despite this tireless pursuit, nothing truly changed. Temporary bursts of motivation quickly faded, leaving him feeling worse than before. Frustration piled higher with each failed attempt, turning his optimism into bitter disillusionment. Soon, self-improvement itself felt meaningless, just another cruel reminder of his perceived inadequacies. One particularly bleak night, after another round of failed resolutions, he sat alone, overwhelmed by despair. That night, he wrote something raw and unfiltered in his journal. Maybe I'm not failing because I'm weak. Maybe I'm failing because I'm afraid of something deeper. Something I'm unwilling to face. He stared at that sentence, a lump rising in his throat as he felt a sudden truth in his bones. The core issue wasn't his daily routines, discipline, or strategies. It was an old, deep-seated fear he'd buried beneath layers of denial and distraction, a fear he genuinely hated. One he'd stubbornly refused to acknowledge. As uncomfortable as it was, this realization became his turning point. He understood clearly for the first time that every external fix he'd tried was merely an avoidance tactic, a way to dodge the true source of his pain and stagnation. Real change demanded facing precisely what he'd been running from, a personal demon he despised so deeply he'd rather waste years trying everything else than confront it directly. This discovery shook him profoundly, yet in that vulnerability, something surprising happened: relief. For the first time in years, he felt genuine hope, not from some fleeting inspirational quote, but from within himself. Now, his task became clear. It was time to confront the one thing he'd feared most. Stay with us. Up next, we'll explore exactly how he faced this fear head-on, and how it changed everything he believed possible about himself. It's remarkable how clear things become once you shine a light on the fears hidden deep inside. After years of masking his pain behind endless routines and quick-fix solutions, our storyteller finally understood that true transformation required one thing above all else: confronting the fear he had avoided his entire life, the fear of being truly vulnerable. He began by stepping away from distractions. Gone were the noisy attempts at self-improvement that promised quick results. Instead, he carved out quiet spaces in his daily routine to reflect, to sit alone with his uncomfortable truths, to listen carefully to the fears that whispered loudly in his mind. At first, these moments were terrifying. Facing himself without distraction brought waves of anxiety and self-doubt crashing down harder than ever before. But he stayed, bravely, in the discomfort, learning to breathe through it, to sit patiently with it, and eventually, to question it. Through journaling, he gradually unraveled the threads of his deepest fear, rejection and abandonment. The wounds from losing his relationship and friendships ran deeper than he had allowed himself to admit. Underneath the surface of financial struggles and external setbacks was a powerful dread of being alone, truly alone. Unworthy, and unloved. Acknowledging this was painful, but incredibly freeing. For the first time, he saw clearly that no external routine or habit would repair an internal belief that he wasn't enough. This revelation compelled him to do what had previously seemed unthinkable. He reached out and asked for help. It began with simple acts of vulnerability. Opening up honestly to a trusted friend, contacting a therapist for support, joining online communities where others shared similar struggles openly and authentically. Each act of vulnerability felt like stepping off a cliff into uncertainty. Yet, every single time, instead of judgment or rejection, he was met with compassion, understanding, and genuine connection. This shift didn't happen overnight. Progress was subtle, almost invisible at first, but each step he took, each truthful conversation, each journal entry of raw honesty, each moment of genuine self-reflection, built resilience. His internal narrative slowly began to shift. He learned to replace his harsh, critical inner voice with kindness, patience, and self-compassion. He discovered that vulnerability wasn't weakness, it was profound strength. His external world began changing. 2. Relationships became deeper, more meaningful, as authenticity replaced superficial interactions. His openness inspired others around him to become more honest and vulnerable themselves, creating bonds rooted in genuine trust. Opportunities started appearing, new friendships, career possibilities, paths he'd previously felt unworthy of exploring, all because he'd finally stepped out from behind his armor of avoidance. Ultimately, his life began transforming not through quick solutions, rigid habits, or surface-level adjustments, but by bravely confronting the root cause of his suffering, his own fear of vulnerability. By acknowledging this fear openly, he reclaimed power over his life. Stay tuned, because coming up next, we'll explore exactly how embracing this deep vulnerability not only healed his wounds but opened doors to a completely transformed future he never thought possible. As he continued to peel back layers of vulnerability, our storyteller began to witness remarkable changes unfolding, not just around him, but deep within himself. By bravely confronting his fear of rejection and abandonment, he was no longer held hostage by the shadows of his past. Instead, he found something he'd been missing for a long time: authentic connection. Both with others and, more importantly, with himself. Realizing that vulnerability wasn't a flaw, but rather the gateway to genuine relationships, he took deliberate steps to nurture this newfound openness. He sought meaningful conversations, consciously setting aside superficial small talk. He reached out intentionally, reconnecting with family and friends he'd previously avoided, afraid they'd see through his carefully constructed facade of strength. At first, these honest conversations felt awkward and fragile. Words didn't always come easily, and silence sometimes hung thickly in the air, heavy with unspoken truths. Yet, each moment of discomfort became less daunting, each honest exchange increasingly liberating. Every sincere conversation reinforced that real strength lay not in masking imperfections, but in openly acknowledging them. He noticed another powerful shift: the more openly he communicated, the more others reciprocated. Friends shared their own hidden fears, insecurities, and struggles. His willingness to be vulnerable first had given them permission to lower their defenses, creating bonds built on mutual trust and understanding. This new depth of connection brought him a sense of belonging he desperately craved but believed unattainable. Inspired by these profound connections, he turned this inward, reflecting deeply on who he truly was. Beyond fear and failure, he explored parts of himself he'd ignored or dismissed, interests he'd abandoned, dreams he'd shelved, and strengths he'd undervalued. For the first time in years, he felt safe enough within himself to ask honestly, what do I really want? Who am I without the mask I wore for so long? Slowly, he started rediscovering passions that once energized him, writing stories he'd never shared, learning guitar, taking nature hikes without distractions. He found joy in activities that fed his soul rather than simply fulfilling obligations or external expectations. These seemingly small actions were transformative, each one helping him reclaim fragments of his true identity. Most importantly, he began genuinely liking himself, appreciating the messy, authentic human he was becoming. The critical inner voice gradually quieted, replaced by one of compassion, patience, and gentle encouragement. He no longer feared rejection as intensely because he knew, deep within, his worth wasn't dependent on external approval. His value was now rooted in authenticity, in being unafraid to show up exactly as he was. This newfound self-assurance also extended outward, transforming his professional and social life. Opportunities arose naturally, drawn to his openness, sincerity, and genuine enthusiasm for life. Relationships flourished, becoming richer and more meaningful, founded on real emotional connection rather than fear-driven performance. Our storyteller's journey vividly demonstrates this powerful truth. Embracing vulnerability isn't simply about exposing your weaknesses, it's about unlocking your greatest strength. It's about giving yourself permission to be fully seen, knowing that your imperfections make you profoundly human, wonderfully relatable, and deeply lovable. Stay tuned, because coming next, we'll uncover how sharing his journey inspired others, sparking courage and transformation in places he'd never imagined possible. As he gradually reclaimed his authenticity and discovered a deep inner strength through vulnerability, something unexpected began to happen. People around him started noticing. Friends, family, and even acquaintances saw not just the visible changes, his brighter smile, calmer presence, and newfound confidence, but sensed something deeper shifting within him. Inspired by this visible transformation, others started seeking him out, asking questions like, "What changed? How did you do it?" And even quietly confessing, "I wish I could find that kind of courage." Initially, he was surprised and humbled. After all, just a short while ago, he himself had been searching desperately for answers, feeling lost and alone. But now, without even intending to, his honest journey toward vulnerability and self-discovery had sparked a ripple effect, inspiring those around him to face their own hidden fears. He quickly realized the profound power of sharing his story openly, not from a place of polished perfection, but from genuine transparency. Recognizing this, he started posting his reflections online, sharing small but meaningful insights from his experience. One post particularly resonated deeply with hundreds of strangers. He described the raw, messy process of finally confronting his deepest fears, admitting openly just how difficult and uncomfortable it had been, yet how transformative the results were. The response was overwhelming. Comments and private messages flooded in, each carrying stories of their own struggles, fears, and desires for true change. People expressed gratitude for his bravery, saying things like, "Your openness gave me the courage I needed," or simply, "Thank you for helping me realize I'm not alone." Reading these heartfelt responses, he understood something profoundly important. Vulnerability isn't just a personal victory, it can become a beacon of hope for others. Motivated by the powerful connections he was creating, he began engaging more actively, hosting live conversations, answering messages thoughtfully, and gently encouraging others to take their own first brave steps. He found himself in an entirely new role, no longer merely someone seeking inspiration, but someone providing it. His previous suffering and uncertainty became sources of strength, empathy, and compassion for others who found themselves in similar struggles. The deeper lesson he took from these experiences was humbling and empowering. Our personal journeys carry extraordinary potential to uplift and transform not only our own lives, but also the lives of others. By choosing openness and vulnerability over hiding in shame and fear, he discovered a profound sense of purpose, one that far exceeded his initial expectations of self-improvement. Most importantly, he realized something vital. vulnerability isn't a solitary act. It's a courageous invitation for others to join in, to open up, and to heal collectively. Through his honesty, he became the living embodiment of a powerful truth: your story matters. Your struggles matter, and sharing your authentic self has the remarkable power to lift, inspire, and heal the hearts of those around you. Stay tuned, because coming next, we'll explore the core lessons from his inspiring journey, valuable insights that you, too, can apply to courageously transform your own life, step by step. In the end, the greatest lesson he discovered through his journey of vulnerability and self-acceptance was beautifully simple yet profoundly powerful. True transformation doesn't happen in grand, sweeping gestures. It happens quietly, one brave choice at a time. Reflecting on the entire journey, he saw clearly that every meaningful change he had experienced, rebuilding self-worth, forging authentic connections, and inspiring others, came from small acts of courage repeated consistently. It was in these daily moments, choosing honesty over hiding, connection over isolation, self-compassion over criticism, that he built lasting transformation. Yet, he also understood that his journey was far from over. Vulnerability wasn't a goal to be reached but a lifelong practice. Some days would still feel challenging. Doubts would occasionally creep in, testing his newfound resilience. But now, equipped with a deeper sense of self-awareness and the powerful support of an authentic community, he felt ready to face whatever came next. What became abundantly clear was this: the things he had previously labeled as weaknesses, his fears, insecurities, and imperfections, had become the very sources of his greatest strength and impact. His story resonated precisely because of its honesty, imperfection, and courage. By embracing vulnerability openly, he'd unintentionally given others permission to do the same, creating a powerful ripple effect that extended far beyond his own life. He recognized now that vulnerability is not something to be ashamed of. It's a courageous declaration of humanity. It's the key to authentic living, genuine connection, and meaningful change. His transformation wasn't rooted in perfection or in becoming someone entirely new. It was about finally accepting and embracing who he truly was, imperfections and all. As you listen today, remember, your own journey toward authenticity and growth may feel uncertain, messy, even frightening at times. But know this: you aren't alone. Each step you take, no matter how small, matters deeply. Each act of courage, honesty, and vulnerability is a step toward building a life filled with purpose, joy, and genuine connection. Your story has power. Your voice matters. When you're brave enough to show up exactly as you are, you create space for others to do the same. And in doing so, you not only transform your own life, you become a catalyst for healing and growth in the lives around you. So, wherever you are right now, take a deep breath and know this truth: the courage to be vulnerable is already within you. Your journey of transformation begins with one simple decision: to embrace yourself fully, bravely, and unapologetically. Thank you for joining us on One Step Daily. Keep moving forward, one courageous step at a time. Until next time, remember, your bravery today becomes your strength tomorrow.